All right, boys, I need to have an honest discussion with all of you. I sat down to make this video, and then I opened Instagram, and then an hour and 57 minutes went by without me realizing it. So I was going to do this, right? I gave this same intro. I said, hey, boys, I got to be honest with you, an hour and 57 minutes has surpassed. And I didn't like, because I messed up the wording, so I deleted the footage, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to redo it so it doesn't sound stupid. And then I open up my phone, and another 30 minutes goes by because I open up Instagram again. So it's been an ungodly amount of time that I've wasted. I don't even remember what video this is. I think this is, the 5 first teams that you should be pushing for if you are an early game, free-to-play player. Let's get into it. All right, so really quickly, I want to talk about something. These are not the order from literally when you start the game. So whatever starting team you use for the first 40 levels is not going to be included in this list. But in no particular order, one of the first 5 teams that you should be farming, and probably the most important of the 5, if I'm being totally honest, is the Jedi Team under SWGOH. This team is going to carry you the first, literally from level, like, when do you unlock her? Like level 40-something when you open up the node. So once you have her all the way to level 85 when you can start simming Galactic War, SWGOH is going to carry you through Galactic War. This is going to be your squad arena team. It's going to get you into that top 1,000, maybe even into that top 500, depending on how many hyperdrive players are in your account, or in your shard, rather. This team is going to give you the most bang for your buck in the very early game. If you guys aren't aware, which I'm sure most of you are, her leadership just gives you 200% protection up at the beginning of the turn, or the beginning of the encounter, which means in Galactic War, you basically never take any damage because it resets every single time, so you can get through that super easy. I know a lot of people have trouble with that early on if they don't waste too many resources in Phoenix. It's going to be great for Squad Arena. It's going to give you that extra health, or that extra protection, rather, to go against stronger teams. So maybe if you are slacking behind people who maybe pay some money in your account, or maybe some hyperdrive players, you can catch up in that Squad Arena aspect. And these guys are just super useful, and become even more useful once you progress at that level 85 mark and you open GAC. SWGOH lead with like Yoda and maybe even Jolie for the extra assists is just guaranteed 62 banners in Grand Arena, or you can place a strong defensive team. She's useful alongside Jolie Bindo for unlocking your Jedi Knight Revan in the future. Anakin and Ahsoka are awesome for the Padme team you'll eventually have. And Yoda can go under any Jedi or Galactic Republic leadership because he just does big damage. He's got lots of viability, passing the buffs around, and with the AoE. So this is definitely probably the better of the 5 teams, but there's some other stuff that you guys who maybe are new to the game are going to want to stick around and find out about. So let's switch to number 2. All right, so not a big surprise to people who've been around the game for a while, but maybe to newer players, bounty hunters are definitely up there at the number 2 spot. Now, number 2 through 5 are not necessarily in any particular order, but if I had to be quite honest, I'd probably put bounty hunters at 2 behind Jedi in terms of actual usefulness. Now, Mando is in here as a placeholder for Bosk because you need to be level 83, I think, to unlock Bosk. So normally, you're not going to use this bounty hunter team all that frequently leading up to level 85, but once you get into that level 85, you got GAC, stuff like that. That's when this team really, really takes off. Mando is obviously a great character, but on accelerated rate, so I wouldn't recommend going for him super early. Jango is my favorite bounty hunter. I think the most useful bounty hunter, not just because he can be used in a bounty hunter team under Bosk, get some good protection, do high damage. He basically solos the Padme event. I think the video that's gotten the most views on this channel is still the Padme guide from like 9 months ago, basically just explaining how Jango can solo the 7-star Padme event. He can go under Separatists. He has instant damage immunity, can do big damage in that regard. Boba does massive damage as well under Bosk lead. The AoE will give you some recovery. The Execute can dispel some buffs if you got a couple of taunts. Now, people always ask me, they're like, AP, why Zam and Dengar, Mando and Greef are infinitely better? Yes, Mando and Greef are infinitely better. Zam and Dengar are farmed in the guild store, not the guild currency, but like the ones you get from doing your dailies. And they're really easy to get to 7 stars. With the accelerated rates, they appear relatively frequently nowadays, and with the 10 shards per, like 400, you can get them to 7 stars really quickly. What this does is these guys are much better than, say, Cad Bane or IG-88 or Greedo under a Bosk lead, so they can help carry you through that 7-star Chewbacca event. So just having them Gear 8, Gear 9 just as backups for extra debuffs for recovery once you do that Chewbacca event, is very good. After you have that 7-star Chewbacca and you got like maybe a Gear 12 Boss, Gear 12 Jango, Gear 12 Boba, and you have a lot of other teams, maybe you can afford to start farming Greef and Mando here and there. Maybe you're rushing Bam or something like that. And that's at that point when you would have Greef and Mando stuck in there because they are better bounty hunters, but not necessarily worth the farm, because you can do Dengar and Zam basically unattached from your normal farms, which won't mess up any of your progression. So this is the bounty hunter team. Just to reiterate, Mando is in the place of Dengar. So let's switch to team number 3. So a little bit of controversy here in at number 3 Emperor team with EP lead Darth Vader, Tarkin, Snowtrooper, TIE Pilot. The controversy lies in the fact that there is no Grand Admiral Thrawn. And we all know that Thrawn is a good character. He's got a great kit. The Fracture helps you punch up. He can pass turn meter and protection up with his abilities. He can stun on basic if you attack an ability block. He is a fantastic character. But in the early game, it's all about, as I've said many times, it's all about timing, but also it's about your resource allocation. You want to make sure that your resource allocation is better than your opponent's. Therefore, you can outperform them because you have the better teams, the better, all of the stuff's going on. You've just been more prepared. Getting a 7-star Thrawn, or maybe even a 5-star Thrawn, requires some Cantina farms, some hard node farms, some squad arena token farms, stuff like that, to get all of those Phoenix characters up to 5 stars. And I just don't think that that's really worth it. This, as you guys know, is Nikki's account. She doesn't play on the weekends, so she does about 5 days a week. I think she started in late November. So she doesn't have any Phoenix. She doesn't really have the time because she's progressing in her other core teams. She's getting her CLS, she's getting her Chewbacca pretty quickly. She's making sure she has her Jedi. For some reason, I didn't tell her to do this. She's going for Darth Revan, kind of like a mini Darth Revan rush. I'm not sure why, but she's got extra energy for hard no farms, so I guess it's totally fine. You can, that extra team in there is do whatever you want. But Snowtrooper, TIE Fighter Pilot, Moff Tarkin are super easy to get to 7 stars. And this event, as you guys know, for the R2-D2 event, which requires Empire, is carried entirely by Darth Vader once he gets to 7 stars. The Zeta makes the event super easy, but you don't even need the Zeta because the Zeta didn't exist back in the day. With EP lead, just get that extra attack with the AoE, then he can throw up some big damage. And the R2-D2 event is pretty easy. This is team that you're probably going to not use in GAC. This is simply the team that you need to have to unlock the R2-D2 to get the CLS. But EP and Darth Vader, you're probably going to use on offense until your Darth Vader is strong enough to solo. If you happen to already have gone down the rabbit hole of getting Phoenix and you have a 5, 6, or 7-star Thrawn, offense, feel free to throw EP, Vader, and Thrawn in for the very first Grand Arena you have, just to make sure that you get all of that high banners, all of that stuff going on. That's probably the team you're going to use against Geonosians if you don't have Padme. So this is team number 3. Let's check in on team number 4. Now, I've touched on it a little bit, but it is the Rebels that are required for CLS, but R2-D2 is not in here because R2-D2, not necessarily the greatest. I threw Akbar in here simply because you need him, because I think he's just the best capital ship for the early game. It took me forever to teach Nikki how ships work, but I just told her to use Akbar because you got recovery, you got high damage, you got all sorts of good stuff. And she's climbed to like top 100 in fleets with basically terrible ships because she hates ships, but what I'm trying to say is if Nikki can get top 100 early game in ships with an undergeared, underleveled Akbar, I think you guys are going to be even better with the Akbar. But I told her to use Stormtrooper Han lead just because the extra protection gives you some more longevity when you're doing the CLS event. These aren't characters that you're really going to use for GAC, but getting that CLS before your opponents is going to be massive in terms of having high banner efficiency on offense. If you can get into a guild where you can get 4 to 5 to 6 Han Solo shards, or if you can manage to get in a team or a guild that sims the Han Solo Rancor raid, you're going to be in a really good spot having a 5-star Han Solo under a CLS. If you've also done Bounty Hunters, you'll probably also have a 5-star Chewbacca eventually, maybe in your first couple of rounds of GAC. That team is going to obliterate anything that it goes up against for max banners. You throw that with the high banner of the Jedi and the high banner of the Emperor Palpatine, Vader, maybe plus Thrawn. You're getting high banners on all team. Akbar lead. On ships, you're going to get, Akbar always gets high banners. So you're going to be in a really good spot there. Offensively, dominate GAC. That's why I say Rebels are team 4. that you should have in the early game. Let's check out team number 5. Team number 5 is probably more important than team number 4, so let's jump into it. No surprise here for most people. Team number 5 is the Bugs Cup. Level 69 Cup is obviously in place of Geonosis Bird Alpha. You got to be level 84 to unlock that node. Once you unlock that node, it's imperative that you rush GBA to 4 stars. Just leave them at 4 stars. Throw this team on defense. You're going to get massive holds because your opponents aren't going to have Traya. They're not going to have strong Padme. They're not going to have a really highly geared Relic Vader. Probably not going to have a chance at beating this team. Place it in front of your ships, because in the first couple of divisions of GAC, you get more banners for ships. So place it in front of your ships. They're not going to go for your ships. They're not going to go for your Geonosians. You only got to place 2 other defensive teams to steal a couple of banners. Maybe you'll have your EP plus Vader plus Thrawn lead. You can maybe take out the Geonosians in a couple of attacks. You're going to win in banners. You're going to full clear. They're not going to be able to full clear. You're going to be in a great spot. Geonosians are definitely the best defensive team early game, bar none. This team will get stops, it will get holds, it will steal banners even later in. I'm at like 3 million GP on the account I use for the YouTube videos, and my 4-star Geonosian Bird Alpha still gets holds. And my opponents have relicked like Darth Revens, they have their Traya. Like, if you can bait out a couple of good teams and you're in the later game, and then they're just like, I totally forgot about Geonosians, you can definitely stick it to them from time to time. So Geonosians, best defensive team in the early game. That being said, I'm going to quickly recap all of the teams here. You have your Jedi, you have your Bounty Hunters, you have your Empire, you have your Rebels, and you have your Geonosians. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this list. This list has been tried, tested, and trued for months and months and months. I've been testing it not only with Nikki, because she's the ultimate test, never seen Star Wars, doesn't really like the game, plays only a couple times a week, and still dominates. So if it works for her, it can work for anyone. It's worked for tons of people in the Discord, people in the comment section, all sorts of stuff. So try this out if you are just starting out. I guarantee you won't regret it. And if you stayed till the end of the video, comment the weirdest word that you can find that starts with a vowel. Just one word. Just the weirdest word that you can find that starts with a vowel. I love you guys, and I'll see you later.